Good evening, everyone. This is partially an apology video to Johnny666, and by the way, hello Australia, for taking down my masterpiece, doxing the doxers, as it were. And those little dox workers, no, they don't work. Our little proud union home there. They begin to text people and do weird things. So I'm laying low. I'm laying low, everybody. I'm escaping. I'm escaping our kind of little low life skills, no life skills, little neighbors there. And so we will stay here in the safety of downtown. Loved your comment though, it was beautiful. Maybe we'll go to the Trustafarian funeral home conversion. And this is when you can tell it's Christmas in Olympia, because you've got ghosts. And I will do a dumpster values one for you as well. I know there's a request. It's a little bit, shall we say, a little bit rainy. Here we go down Nonprofit Lane. There's our power place. Power. Yep. It's a bit of a war out there, isn't it? And it's interesting how they just don't see the irony. But we will lay low and fall off the radar. As we... Now there is a place, there's that little safe place that Olivia keeps saying we need to do a vid on. And I have a few safe place stories. One is that this place is relatively new, maybe 5 years old or so. And it's, once again, it's a non-prof. And I've got a little bit like a mini sort of inside scoop to it. So they get government money, basically. This is non-prof row. And non-profits are really the sort of hidden bugaboo. And I did not like get into it because I'm like a nerd that's like way into like, you know, non-profs or something. It came just by accident, by experience, by living somewhere so long. And then I finally found something on you know, Google, where someone had written an article saying, yeah, it's like it's where the hidden, you know, the hidden kind of we can be clever and get money sort of thing is. And so they were in a really nice giant old house downtown. In fact, you can see it from here. And it was kind of perfect inside. I had taken people over there before. I think it's down there. So it's like this sort of giant Victorian house that had a huge upstairs, huge downstairs, and was furnished bizarrely nicely, you know, Persian rugs and all of that sort of thing. Okay, how do I have the weird story? Okay, well, before the weird story, I would like to preface it with, whenever we would bring people in, they would say, oh, you know, we've got lawyers here, but, you know, we're not going to represent you. You know, we just have to get pro bono hours, you know, to get our law degree or something. So there's this kind of tomfoolery where it's called safe place. You're going to come here, you're going to be safe. And then it's like right up front, it's like, oh, no, you're not. So they're getting money or getting pro bono points for things. There are legal clinics like that here. Power, the one we passed, is a place for welfare moms. There's just tons of them. Now, the kind of deeper story I've got, besides that one that's just the ambiance, I remember Tom and I taking a homeless person who was way addicted to drugs. They needed to get up and go to a methadone clinic. We dropped her off at a church that was part of a group called Sidewalk. I like the names they come up with. Kick you to the curb, huh? And the first thing the man said that checked her in was, I'm not a social worker, you know. And Tom said, oh, yes, you are. You're standing checking homeless people in at a church and you've got a clipboard in your hand. You're definitely a social worker. Okay, now we'll get to my little deeper inside story of Safe Place. There was this really kind of fun group that kind of came up from Arizona one summer, and it was great fun. The guy ran like the co-op in some funny town there, and there was another guy who'd been living in Israel, and he had all these wild stories to tell about, you know, like living in these wild just kind of camps and places, and sometimes he was just in normal places like Tel Aviv and stuff, but definitely, you know, hive mind, definitely, he was a really interesting guy, and he also was the only person who had the kosher license and a kosher license, and what else? He had a kosher license and he had an organic food license, so he was kind of interesting that way. And he ended up getting married to a woman who was a higher up at Safe Place. Okay, is this like bad gossip of Safe Place? But you know, it's federal funds, and they go, basically what it is glorified beggary, just like that woman ambassador to Ukraine. I always want to say that Ukraine because I'm ancient, but that ambassador to Ukraine, and it turned out that for her job, all she had done as ambassador was just, you know, she was just a glorified beggar, you know, saying, oh, Ukraine needs money for this and for that, and, you know, whoever can write the most clever grant to get money out of taxpayers or whatever. So we're back to this story because it is really bizarre. So he said, yeah, I'm getting married to this woman. I didn't know her at all. I'm getting married to this woman, and she works for Safe Place. And I'm like, oh, that's, okay. And I said, what does she do there? And he's like, no, she doesn't work there. Like, she's never even been there, he said. She doesn't go to the place. Her job is she flies around to like her region. She's got a region that she flies around and goes to, get money. Basically flies to Washington, D.C. and gets money. He was like, oh no, she would, she'd never go to the building, So whoever is, the administrator of the building is just low level there. There they are. But they're all getting, it's once again, we have more social workers in this town than homeless, I'm starting to think. And, I've gotten some snarky things saying, you're a lucky person, you're not homeless, how dare you do this? This is not about the homeless. Wake up, whoever it is that's like getting mad at me and writing these strange things. This is not about the homeless. This is about government rifts of people that, because we have redundant agencies. We just drove by Power. Now we've got Safe Place. There's a place called Columbia Legal Services. There's Northwest Legal Justice Center. There is the Family Support Center. There is the Housing Authority of Olympia. This is just off the top of my head as I'm just like driving around. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. Let's get the music going again, you guys. How dare I? How dare I be such a windbag on such a dark night? But Olivia said, let them know. Because all of that money that's going to all of those, little social justice warriors just sitting up there who really do nothing to help anyone. And they all know it. They all just think it's clever that they've, they're virtue signaling. They're getting their little jollies. They're getting their money. They've got their little social work thing. And they've got their line, which is, I'm sorry, there are no resources. And I don't understand how they can get away with saying there are no resources when every time I open the newspaper, which is rare, but when I do, there's always someone who's been busted for taking millions upon millions of dollars, right? Last night I talked to a friend about that, and he was like, yeah, you're right. I do see that in the paper a lot. You're right, they do have funds, He was trying to kind of start to give me a bit of a hard time about Trump. He said, he's going to be in trouble. He hasn't paid his taxes. And first of all, it's like, who wants to pay taxes anyway? It just winds up in unmarked bills on an airfield in Iran, to someone who wants to bomb us at this point. It just goes to like China. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like a private businessman, so what? Look at Biden, who's been in the deep corral of everything since, since the earth cooled. And, it's weird how they just, there's, I guess people call it cognitive dissonance. I just think it's what intellectual treason, is that what Dinesh D'Souza calls it? And there we go to our little power grid in the sky here, because they're gonna just light up the world. Let's see if they've got any holiday stuff. Okay, we've got a little